These the floor is lava challenges are really getting out of hand. But let's do it. Hey, what's up ladies and gentlemen, I'm Aleya and I hope you enjoyed that little intro. 2 videos ago I mentioned a giveaway for the website where you can win free products, and the winner for that giveaway is Skinny Wolf Gang. So we will be reaching out to you on Instagram and then we can finalize that. And then for everyone else we will still be doing giveaways in the near future, so you can win something then hopefully. So in today's video tutorial we're going to be seeing how to create a nice realistic lava flowing effect in Adobe After Effects like you saw in the preview where it's floating through my street. That's gonna be quite exciting. So without further ado, let's jump into the tutorial. If you want to follow along with this tutorial using the exact same footage as me, I will put a link in the description below so you can download and follow along with the exact same footage as me. And also, if you enjoy watching my videos, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you stay notified when I upload new videos. Without further ado, let's open up Adobe After Effects and get started. Alright, so here we are in Adobe After Effects, and in today's video we are going to be seeing how to create some realistic lava in Adobe After Effects. If you want to follow along using the exact same footage as me, we'll put a link in the description to download that. First thing that we do is we're going to create a new solid layer, and this is going to be our lava overlay. We're going to uncheck this, take my pen tool and kind of click around the street to get some kind of cutout. You can reposition every dot to your preferences, and there we go. So now we have this layer right here. Then I want to duplicate my original footage and put it on top, and I'm actually going to cut out a little part of this kind of grass here. So you can do it however you want it to be. And then what I like to do is use a roughen edges to really kind of make those edges a little bit rougher, and that's going to make it look a lot more realistic. So we're going for effects, or actually I'm just going to search for it, roughen edges, and I'm going to apply that to my layer right here. So I'm going to be decreasing the scale to something like 25 and increasing the complexity to something like 10, and then increase the border until you see something that you kind of like, something like this. And then also make sure that the mask here for the solid is actually going below that. There we go. Okay, looking good. Okay, you will see on the edges that you have a little bit of problems, but you can simply fix that later on by just scaling up your footage a little bit. So I'm going to keep it as it is for now, and also I'm going to scale it just a little bit more so it looks a little bit messier like that. Okay, so great. Now what I want to do is work on my lava texture itself. So what I'll do is go and create a new composition, lava texture. And I'm going to make this kind of a lot bigger than my original footage right here. So I'm going for like 8000 by 1200. Kind of the higher you go in resolution, the better the quality of your lava is going to be. So really keep that in mind. If your computer can handle it or not, just make sure that your computer can handle it, because 8000 resolution is quite high, but it's going to give a lot better results. So I'm going to create a new solid layer here and make sure that you make it comp size and click OK. Then go to Effect, Noise and Grain, and we're going to be using fractal noise basically to create lava. So now if we change it to something simple like dynamic, we click Invert and we just go to our lava footage. We want to just drag this new composition into our main composition right here, just so we can see it. And then I'm going to right click, New, and create a new camera. And this camera, I want to make it kind of the same like my original camera, just for the perspective of the 3D that we're going to be using in order to put our lava in its position. So go to preset. I think I used a 28 millimeters, so I'm going to click OK here, click OK, and then with that done, I'm going to click on my lava texture, toggle the switches, and make this a 3D layer. Now I want to press W on the keyboard and just rotate my lava texture just like that into position. And immediately we're getting somewhere already. So that's looking pretty good. And basically our texture is way too large. So what I'll do is go for composition settings and just increase the height a little bit, or actually decrease this to like 6000 by, let's say, 2500. So we get a different kind of perspective. That's just playing around basically, and then click on your solid layer and go to layer, solid settings, and make this comp size and click OK. Go back and see what that did. Maybe we can also scale it down by pressing S on the keyboard and just scale it. The smaller it is, the more detail you'll see. So that's really what we want to get here. A little bit bigger. Okay, so that's looking pretty cool. Now we want to drag and drop that under the lava overlay that we created. And then again, toggle the switches and use the track matte option right here to use alpha matte. And there we have it. So we have our lava. Cool. So another thing that I've done is I prepared a dirt image right here, which you can see. If I drag this into my composition, this basically is just to put in position. So it's a 4K footage, so I'm going to scale it down 50% and just try to position this like right here. And you can also rotate it maybe a little bit. I kind of already prepared it for my example tutorial, well, the preview, and put it there. And if the lava is coming behind it, just go back to the solid here and just drag it a little bit more below. And go back to the dirt map and readjust it where needed. Okay, so that's already looking a little bit better, but of course it doesn't look integrated in our footage. So what we want to do is make this quite dark. So I'm going to click on that layer and go for Effect, Color Correction, and apply a Curves effect to it. And here I want to flatten out kind of the colors. And to do that, I'm going to just drag this down here and drag this up a little bit. And that way we get kind of really flat colors. We can also add a little bit of contrast here. Just make this pretty dark. And that way it looks a little bit more like there's some depth there. Okay, cool. Next, what I want to do is click on that layer and duplicate it once more and reset my curves here. And now I just really want to push the colors and add a lot of contrast here. Then I'm going for Effect, Color Correction, and add a tint effect. So we have black and whites. And just make sure that you have more whites than blacks. So just push this a little bit more to the left, something like that, and that looks perfect. And this is going to be our kind of reflection map right here. So I'm going to create now a new adjustment layer, and I'm going to apply Effects, Color Correction, Curves, and go into the red tone, bring that up, maybe the blue, bring that down, and maybe in the green, you want to add a little S curve, maybe brighten it, or yeah, play around with everything until you're satisfied. Then bring this below your dirt map here and just change the track matte to Luma matte, and now we have reflections in here. So again, RGB, we can also increase that quite a bit, so we have a little bit more kind of luminosity. And once you're satisfied, just go to your pen tool and go to the adjustment layer and drag something like so. And now you can press F on the keyboard and feather it quite a bit. Maybe open up the mask options and drop the expansion to really narrow down the reflection radius here. That's looking alright. So now we have reflections of our lava. The only thing that we still have to do is add our lava. So this is just an example texture, but basically what I've done is I clicked on my lava composition here. So I'm going to Effect, Color Correction, Colorama. And here's where the magic happens. So I'm going to the output cycle and choose a preset, fire, and immediately we have our lava look. So this looks great. You can go in here and really tweak everything. You can also go and add an exposure tag, which I like to do. So bring that up. And if we increase the exposure or we lower it, we get different kind of results. You can also play with the gamma correction and get results like that. So already we're having a quite nice lava look here. So what I'll do is go into the lava texture now, and now it's time to start playing with this. So we can really dive in here. So in the transform, we can uncheck transform or uniform scaling and change the width to something like 5, the height to something like 100 seems okay. But what I like to do here is add a Bezier warp, and the Bezier warp is just going to be some kind of warp like it's moving forward. So if we're going to move forward, the edges are really going to stick a little bit more than the center, and it's going to give a different look to the viscosity of the lava. So we're going to just tug these in here. And now we have something like this. And of course, what you need to do is then move it over, maybe scale it up a little bit, or just tug these in here. So it's not that expressive. So now we have a different kind of look. We can see that the lava is kind of pushing forward. Another thing that we can do is go for effect, distort, and turbulence displace. That's also going to mix it up a little bit. So like a size of 50 and an amount of 25, or maybe a size of 100, an amount of 25. Maybe scale up the texture just a little bit so we have more space to work with. And now we can see that it's kind of doing some fun things. And we can also increase the complexity here, and then maybe just increase the size to something like 250 or 350. And just like something like 10 influence. But that's just going to make it less even and get better results that way. So let's see how that looks. Okay, so now we have something like that going on. Of course, we need to increase the width a little bit more. Maybe lower the contrast to something a little bit lower. You can also add a effect, blur and sharpen. Vector blur is also something nice to play with. And basically everything that we're doing here is playing around with settings. And you're going to be playing for hours until you get something that you're satisfied with. But every look has its own benefits and its own unique features. So it's really important to just play around, because yeah, every situation is going to be different in this case. So a negative value in the vector blur also changes things, and like that you get cool results. So maybe a 75 contrast here, or maybe just keep it at 100. It's making it a little bit more interesting. So next what you can do is also maybe just increase it by 1, so we have a little bit of highlights. Okay, cool. Next, I'm going to duplicate this layer, and now you just do different things. Maybe you don't want these kind of stripes, but you want like just rather square things here. And maybe just scale it quite down. Maybe you want real small details. Also, the smaller you go in values here, the smaller details you're going to have in the lava, and it's going to eventually pay off with a lot more texture and details. So really play around with everything. Just by adding this small feature that we did right here, we're going to get a total different look. Okay, here we're getting interesting highlights. You can see what the gamma correction is doing. It's quite a lot what it's doing here, so I think we can go for something like this. And basically now it's all stacking things. What you can also do, and it's a pretty cool effect, which I didn't show in the example, but if you're going to add a new solid layer, you can add cell pattern, which is a really cool effect. And here what I want to do is use the cell pattern pillow, and I think you can already imagine what we're going to try and do here. If we invert this, we now have something like that. And if you're going to use a multiply, we're going to get our effects through here. And the size, you can also lower it or increase it. And by increasing the contrast, we will get like more spacing in between these tiles. So we can go to effect now, again, distort and turbulence displace. And here again, an interesting part is if we increase the complexity, lower the amount, and lower the displacement, we're going to get interesting results here. Maybe a complexity of 3 is going to be enough. And maybe a size of 10, amount of 50. And now it's looking a little bit more organic. And again, you can duplicate that turbulence displace and maybe increase the amount here. So you get something like that with a lower amount here. But that's also going to kind of randomize it just a little bit. And there we go. So if we go back here, we now have something like that, which is also pretty cool in some cases. And another fun thing is that what you can do is combine this effect with a fractal noise effect. So if you duplicate your fractal noise and you bring it on top, solo it for now, we're going to delete the vector blur here. We can increase the size here to something quite serious, or actually uniform scaling to 50. Increase the contrast to 350. And then use a Luma matte to reveal a few of these, but not all of them, and that way you get this kind of results. So maybe we want to lower the size of the cell pattern to something like 25. And that way you create some kind of islands of cell patterns. And again, you can also duplicate these two. And maybe for the top layer, if we're going to change the evolution a little bit, we're going to get different spots. And we can also increase the size now to get some variation. So maybe we're going to keep this also quite low. Okay, so there we go. So basically you really want to add a lot of variation points. You can also maybe duplicate one more here of the top layer. Again, use a lot of offset and maybe put another fractal noise underneath it, and also use a Luma matte here. And maybe you want to increase the size here to maybe 50 and maybe 50 also, with a little bit more contrast. And that way you get these kind of spots in here, which maybe you want to multiply. Maybe lower the brightness a little bit or increase it. Maybe you want highlight spots. So you want to change this to screen. And now we have some highlights here. And if you return, the more you're going to stack on these things, the more variation you're going to bring in this, the more it's going to look like actual lava, because it's very organic. Nature is very organic and always different. So the more you do that, the better results you're going to be you're going to be getting. So this is looking pretty nice, but I think the black is a little bit too black and the white is a little bit too white. So I will just dive in here and just lower the opacity here of these to a little bit less. Okay, so now we have our lava. It's kind of looking okay, but we want to increase it and make it a little bit better looking. So what we'll do is click on the lava texture. We can also use a sharpen unsharp mask here. And if we're going to increase this to something like 100, we're going to get a lot more detailed pops. But you can also increase the radius here. And if you do that, you will also see things happening here. So that's already cool looking, but we are going to lower maybe the intensity to something like 35. Don't overdo it, but it's really doing something very subtle, but subtle things really help a lot. You can even increase the radius to 25 on another batch, and look what that's doing here, adding even more detail, maybe to 25 or maybe 15. So yeah, really play around again. But once you're satisfied, what you want to do is click on that layer together with the overlay texture, then also with the camera layer, precomposes lava texture, and we're going to again put this below this layer here. And now we want to add an effect, stylize CC glass, and immediately you see what that's doing here. So that's going to add some depth to our lava. So we can open up all the tabs here, maybe the softness to something like 2 or 5, play around again. A height of -5. No displacement needed in this case. And for the light, we're going to use kind of a warm, nice orange tone. Increase the light height a little bit to something like that. And maybe increase or play around with the direction of the light here. I'm kind of liking this one here. Okay. Maybe a -3 height. But already you're going to see the difference the glass is doing here, and it's not much, but it's something that just makes it look a little bit more realistic. So for the ambient, I'm going to set this to 0, and for the specular maybe to something 75, and the metal look, we can also play with that here. And now for the roughness, we're going to get something like that. And now just increase the diffuse to 100, and there we have it. Maybe a softer edge here, so softness 5, undo it, do it, and check what it's doing here. So it's really doing a nice job at creating some depth here. So maybe something like a softness of 3 works perfect, and a height of -2. Very subtle, but I like it. Okay, so that's for the CC glass. And then lastly, I'm going to create a new adjustment layer. I'm going to add perfect glow to this layer. So this is our perfect glow preset, which you can download with the link in the description below. But if we're going to do something like 35 and just decrease the intensity here, we're going to get a nice halo on the lava. We can also increase this number to 65 and see what that does. Increase it. Thinking like a softer number here. And there we start having something. If you don't like the glow in the sky, we can just paint out the bottom part and then press F on the keyboard and something like 250. So we have a little bit of glow here, but that's how you add the glow to your lava. And maybe just press T on the keyboard and lower the opacity also a little bit. And also, if you don't like the color exactly of your lava, a quick fix that I used is just hue and saturation and maybe play with +10 or -10 and see what differences that is giving you. So it's really playing with everything and getting every single setting perfect, but that's basically how to get your lava look. And now just for the animation, a very simple way of animating your layer, and you have to do that for every layer, of course, is you can alt click on the evolution here, alt click time times maybe 25. So now we have a smooth animation like this. But what I tend to use to go forward is not the offset turbulence here, because that gave some errors with me. So what I like to do is just make sure it's big enough to cover the entire screen, then press P on the keyboard, click and create a new keyframe, and then just move it to where you can. And then just move it forward, and then also move this forward, so you just animate the position moving forward. That for me worked the best. So yeah, hopefully that works for you also. But that's basically how to create everything. Alright, so that's it for today's video tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give this video a like. Also be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you stay notified when I upload new videos. And also check out our website. We have a bunch of awesome stuff to offer for any digital creator. And if you buy something from our website, it really helps to support this channel. Apart from that, I hope to see you guys and girls in the next one. Goodbye.